Welcome, guys. Thank you for tuning in to the fourth podcast episode. Today I'm with CJ Spjute. CJ, thank you for joining, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here. This is great.
Of course, likewise. So, by way of introduction, CJ is an equity partner of Vantage Marketing and an owner of a pest control branch in Florida, among a few other things. You're doing fitness coaching right now, a father, husband, doing a lot of different things right now. So, you're doing a good job in all those roles, it seems.
I don't know about a good job. I try. I try. Obviously, being a father and a husband's most important. But yeah, I have my hands full. Our pest control company out in Florida and Jacksonville has just been absolutely crushing it, been dominating. We have opening up another branch in Raleigh, North Carolina this year. We'll have teams all over the southeast areas, and then yeah, our fitness coaching has been blowing up a little bit. So that's been new and that's been fun.
Yeah, what does a typical day look like for you? I mean, kind of random question, but I mean, how does that look? I mean, you've been in sales your whole career, right?
Yeah, I've been doing sales for a while now. The day today is pretty similar. My schedule changes a lot because I travel a lot for work. But the typical day to day, I wake up at a decent time. I'm not one of those guys, hey, wake up at 4 a.m. Not saying you shouldn't. For those who want to, you can. My schedule, I just don't have to. So I'm usually able to wake up with my wife and kids. We have a breakfast together and then we zip right off to the gym. So like the first thing we're pretty much doing every morning after a breakfast together is heading off to the gym. We have kid care at our gym, so our girls are able to be watched, and my wife and we hit it hard and we get after it. And I usually actually schedule my first meeting of the day, typically when I can, while I'm doing my cardio on the treadmill. It's usually a phone calls or a training with a rep, and I just say, hey, I'm on the treadmill, but hey, you got me. I can hear you. And so my meetings pretty much start then. And then I have 4 or 5 hours worth of meetings, trainings, whatever it may be. And then I'm able to be back home with my kids, do fun stuff with them, family dinner. And then I'm with the wifey the rest of the night. I do have meetings occasionally in the evening for sure. Again, as like an entrepreneur, our schedule changes all the time. But that's the typical day to day for me.
That's huge. I love that. What got you into doing that? I mean, that's a lot different than a lot of people's schedules. And obviously, you're not in a 9 to 5. So maybe, I mean, briefly, did you know that you didn't want to be that kind of person? Or how did you make that path for yourself?
No, I thought I wanted to be a 9 to 5 guy. I was going to school for a 9 to 5. I wanted to be a teacher. And then I kind of got roped into trying door to door sales. Never thought I would have stayed in it longer than one summer. But then I went and made like 3.5 times basically as my goal my first summer. And I was like, well, shoot, how do I say no? So the next year I went and managed, had a team of 30 guys I managed, went and made more money than I ever thought I could. And then the next year I had 3 teams, and the next year 5 or 6 teams. And then it just honestly kind of took off and blew up. And then a few years ago I had an opportunity to partner up with some good friends of mine and open up a branch in Jacksonville, Florida, which is where been able to absolutely just, I guess, expound my horizons, and really it's opened my eyes to what's out there. And so I feel very, very blessed. I work extremely hard. I think a lot harder than some people might realize. But I'm also able to play really hard, and I love the schedule. I love being able to be able to go to my daughter's preschool plays and recitals, be able to go and take my daughters to school, or daddy-daughter dates and stuff like that. But when I work, I'm working, and I travel a lot, and I have to sacrifice a lot of family time. But on the flip side, my schedule I feel like is the best schedule you can get. So
I love that. Yeah, that's huge. I think that's very inspirational. It's like you've created this life for yourself that I think a lot of people, could admire. Although you do put in a lot of work and a lot of hours, it's definitely apparent that you do that. But I think it's really neat that you've created this schedule for yourself. And obviously, lately, you've blown up social media and made a really big name for yourself and your wife through this huge transformation, right? So I definitely wanted to touch on that today. You made this incredible transformation. What changed in you to do that?
thanks, man. Dude, it's interesting because as you were talking, I just kind of was reflecting on it. I got like goosebumps just kind of thinking about it because it's been a huge part of my life these past few years. Now, fitness, I was a college basketball player. I was always into fitness, but after getting married and living the schedule I just talked about, I put on a lot of weight. I was almost 300 pounds. I think I got over 300. I just never saw it on the scale. I'm sure after a
Wow.
big meal, I was weighing 300. And I started, in 2018, started trying to get back into fitness, started losing a little bit of weight, but I was constantly yo-yo dieting, like going up and down. Just I'd lose 10 pounds, gain it back, lose 5, gain it back. It seemed like my diet was always starting on Monday. I probably started and stopped a diet over 50 times, no joke, right? Until I remember it was Christmas time, 2021, so the end of 2021. I was in the shower and I just looked down at my gut and I like literally was like, what am I doing? Like, what is going on? Like, who have you become that you've become this out of shape? I mean, I was motivated. I was relatively successful, but I was out of shape, wasn't confident. I was constantly tugging at my clothes. And I just remember I was like, I got to change this. And so, what am I freaking going to do? And so I told myself, well, I'm going to sign up for a bodybuilding show, hire a coach, and get after it and just do it and put myself out there. And so it really started kind of that moment, kind of a typical cliche, like start of the year, new thing. But I started just before the new year and then was able to lose roughly 70, 80, 90 pounds to get on stage in June. And so it was the hardest thing I have absolutely ever done. Anyone who's competed in a bodybuilding show knows, and if you haven't, you don't truly know how hard it can be. But most people didn't have to lose 70, 80, 90 pounds in order to get on stage. And so for me, it was just I had to make a change, made a goal, stuck to it, and got my wife on board and made it happen. And then it was cool because my wife, she kind of fought it a little bit. My wife, she never got super out of shape or overweight, but she had a couple kids and dealt with some postpartum depression and went through some things like that. And she wasn't the happiest. But then about 2 months into my transformation, she was like, well, shoot, if you're going to be eating chicken while we're at Red Robin, why am I getting a burger and fries and you're eating chicken and broccoli? And then she just got on it. And now we've both competed in a show and have over 100 clients that we're trying to help change and transform as well. And so it's been quite the journey.
Yeah, that's insane. I want to know what was different this time. If you had done yo-yo dieting and looked at yourself and if you weren't proud before, like this time, did you learn something new, like about fitness, about dieting? Like what is different? Because I think me included, a lot of us look in the mirror. It's like, okay, today's the day. But you looked in the mirror for probably that last time and you said, okay, I know I'm going to make a change now, right? Like, was there anything different about this time?
To be honest, so me being an athlete, a former college athlete, I loved competition and I knew I needed something that was going to motivate me to stay disciplined. Because before it was always, oh, basketball, I wanted to be the best, right? I had guys I was competing with in the off season in my head. They had no idea they were pushing me, but I saw their names. I knew who I was going against, and that was my motivation. And with this, it was like, okay, if I'm actually going to A, make an investment and hire a coach, but B, also get on stage and sign up for a show, and shows aren't cheap, I knew it was going to be what motivated me. Because once I get set on a goal, there's not a lot of things I don't think I can accomplish. And so I think the biggest difference was I made a goal, and it wasn't just, oh, I'm going to lose 30, 40, 50 pounds. It was, okay, why am I going to? Because I'm going to hop on stage at a bodybuilding show and I'm not going to embarrass myself. And that first show, I didn't win, I didn't even place or anything, but that didn't matter because the simple fact was that I actually did it. And so I'd say the biggest difference was I A, hired a coach, made an investment, B, set the goal, and then C, I just told people about it. So there's no going back. I remember announcing on Instagram, I was pretty nervous because I was like, shoot, if I say this, I can't fall on my face. And so those mixture of those three things, I think was really, really what made the difference for me.
That's huge. Through that, what did you learn about yourself? I bet you'd wanted to make that change for a while, but now you finally done it. You had done it at that point. So what did you learn going through that?
Dude, I mean, truly, I learned that, and it's cliche, but that I can do anything. Like, people, I mentioned this earlier, unless you've gone through the experience of prepping for a bodybuilding show, you do not fully understand the mental, physical, and emotional toll it takes on you. It is the hardest thing I have ever done in my life, and I've done some hard things. And so for me to be able to go through that with two kids, two little kids, working a high stress job, I truly feel that I can accomplish anything. There is nothing that I can't do. And it's been so cool to be able to like relay that to some clients because I feel them. I've battled eating disorders. I even still struggle with my relationship with food at times. And so being able to like relay that like and empathize or sympathize with people on, hey, like I know what you're going through. I know how you feel. I know what it feels like to not feel confident looking in the mirror. I know what it feels like not to feel confident in family pictures or at the beach or at your nephew's party in front of 100 other people, whatever it may be. I know those feelings. And so if I can do it and if I can implement these certain things, I know you could do it. And so that's been one of the coolest things for me is just being able to help inspire others. I mean, I get random DMs from people who they've lost 30, 40 pounds now, people I don't even coach. And they'll be like, dude, I just want you to know that you were what inspired me to do this. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know you, or I barely know you. I met you a long time ago. And I'm like, this is the coolest thing. And so it's just cool to be able to do something like that and be able to have an effect on people. And it makes it all worth it because it's not easy, but it's worth it every single time.
That's incredible. That must mean a lot too when people are inspired by that. Like it's bigger than you,
Yeah.
you know. And going through that change, so would you say that it was something that you were lacking, like knowledge you were lacking, or was it really all just like mindset and you kind of had to like hunker down and just learn discipline?
So I do think there was some knowledge I was lacking and things I've learned. So for instance, like a lot of people, they think, oh, when they start a diet, oh, I got to cut out carbs or I got to go paleo or keto or whatever they want to do. And like, honestly, sure, if you want to try those things, great. But there's an easier way. And so for me, I truly learned that it's like calories in versus calories out. And protein is the most important macronutrient. So if you focus on those things, it can literally take you 99% to your dream body. Sure, if you want to start getting tactical on some things, there might be a couple things you might need to tweak when it comes to other things in order to reach where you want to be. But for the most part, you just focus on those things. And so for me, understanding that, I was able to eliminate a lot of like all or nothing mentality because I'd be like, hey, I'm not going to eat pizza or I'm not going to have cookies. I got to do that to lose weight. But no, when you actually learn how the body works, no, I can still eat pizza. I can still eat cookies, but in moderation. And I might need to adjust the type of pizza a little bit. But even if then, I can go and have a piece of Domino's pizza if I want. I maybe just can't eat the whole thing anymore, right? And so like that was really, really cool. Like understanding more about nutrition and how the body works. And that helped. But for the most part, it's just mentality and mindset and making the choice to do it. The other things help, but you just have to make the choice to do it and not allow yourself to make any excuses. Because I think that's where the money maker is just like being disciplined, staying motivated, and finding that why. And I heard yesterday a quote. It was like, when the why is great enough, it's always easy, or the how is easy, and that really stuck out to me. So my why was just I was tired of feeling this way, and so it was easy to make it happen.
Yeah, and it looks like I mean you brought your wife on board, or at least she felt that drive too. You know, the desire to get better. So it's cool that you guys both did that at the same time. You know, I think that's not very common. But did that help you? I mean, having your wife Sydney on board, I'm sure you know it gets really tough. I know you've talked about that. The bodybuilding competition itself. You know, you're just feeling miserable. So did having your wife on board help with that?
Yeah, so the first couple months of prep, my first show when I was first starting like my transformation, she wasn't on board with it, and I was so motivated and disciplined, it was fine, but it was hard watching her eat good food while I ate for the most part pretty bland food or stuff I didn't want. But then once she got on board, it was amazing because I'd be at work, I'd send her a message, I'd be like, hey babe, I need 8 ounces of chicken, 6 ounces of broccoli, and a half cup of rice, and she'd have that ready for me when I got home. She'd weigh it out. She did it all for me, and I couldn't have done it without her that first prep. But then the second prep, when we did it together, it made it way easier doing it with someone who understood, because she fully understood. But it also made it a lot more difficult on the family, on the kids. And that was the hardest part, was especially the last 6 weeks when your cardio is really high, your calories are really low, you struggle getting out of bed in the morning. You really do. And if you want to be lean enough to actually place, which we both placed, which was awesome. She got 3 medals her first show. It was amazing.
Wow.
And but it was very, very hard that way. But to do it together, and it's kind of a moment. We talk about this. It's a moment we'll always have that we can hang our hat on, that we did that together, and we can do anything together because we went through that. It's just something we'll always reflect on. And so, absolutely, I don't know if I recommend too many couples with 2 kids that are 3 and 4 to ever do it. But I'm so glad we did do it together, and it definitely brought us closer. It's really cool.
That's huge. Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth in that. You proved to yourselves that you can do tough things, challenging things when you put your mind to it. What is that like, too, mentioning with your little girls? I mean, how in the world did you find balance? Or, I mean, maybe it was just that you had to sacrifice on a lot of other things, but how do you do that? It seems like you have all the excuses in the world, at that point when you got work, faith, your family, obviously, and then on top of that, throwing, bodybuilding prep.
Yeah, man, it's a good question. So, Manti Te'o, I just heard him speak at a big seminar yesterday, and he said, in order to be the best, sometimes your life has to get a little unbalanced. And that hit me, because that was so true. Because sometimes it really does, right? So I'm not going to lie and say during prep, our life was completely balanced, because it wasn't. It wasn't. We made sure we did what was most important. We prayed as a family. We'd go to church each Sunday. For us, that's most important. But there was hard things. We had to say no to a lot of events. We couldn't always participate in everything because we didn't have the energy to. Or, it was hard. I remember one day, probably a few weeks out from the show, my daughters wanted to go wrestle with me. And I went downstairs, and after about 3 minutes, I walked back upstairs, and I was like, babe, I can't do this. I can't wrestle with my daughters right now. And that was one of the hardest things for me. But then in the end, I remember my dad, he gave me some advice, and he pretty much told me to be better at putting the Lord first during this process. So I made a really, really big goal to even strengthen my relationship more with my Savior. And once my wife and I did that and made that more of a focus, it did become easier, and I felt like we were sustained through it more, which was so cool, because God doesn't care about a bodybuilding show. He doesn't, but he cares about me, and he cares about my wife, and he cares about my kids. So when we put him first, it was really, really cool to see the strength come from that, because we were so far out of balance, but he was able to help balance us more out. And for that, I'm so grateful for. And so, yes, in that moment, we were unbalanced, but we were able to still get in what was important. And I think that's life, right? Sometimes there are going to be out of balances where work is super stressful, or family life, or you have a death, or different things, and it takes so much energy from you. But if you put what's most important first, it's interesting how everything seems to work out, and then things can come back into balance.
100%. I love that. I think I've noticed that in my life too, and I'm not even doing a show or anything like that, but it's like sometimes we get so out of whack, and if we forget, for me and you, I 100% believe that too. God needs to be first, and then everything else, can fall after that. And usually that's when I'm most balanced, and I feel like most fulfilled, is when I put God first, and I'm like, okay, I'm not the one in charge of everything here. Everything else can come second to that, with family and then work, everything, can just fall in line after that. So I think it's really cool that you can talk about that. Something like a bodybuilding show, I'm sure that you're, kind of looking at yourself a lot, because obviously you need to make changes to you. You need to worry about what you're eating, everything like that. So I'm sure it's really hard to balance that,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, a bodybuilding show, I feel like, is one of the most selfish things you can do. And so to balance everything that you still have to can seem near impossible, but that's part of the grind. And I think if I ever do, and when I do another show, I'm probably going to do one last hurrah maybe. That's kind of my goal, is I want to embrace embrace the process a little bit more. Sometimes I found on this last prep is I was just so focused on getting to the end because it got so hard doing it. And my wife and I would constantly talk about, oh, we can't wait till we can eat these things, or can't wait till we can have energy to do certain things. But someone I really look up to in the fitness world talked recently about that when you're in prep, just embracing it and finding joy in the journey of, yeah, this is hard, but I'm in pain right now because I have a goal. My body is screaming for food and is screaming for rest, but I'm going to the gym, I'm walking into the gym for another 2 hour of weights and an hour of cardio on 100 calories so far this day. Enjoy, find the joy in that and the beauty in that. And that's something that, like, A, I want to do more so if I do a show again, but also B, just in life. Like, we're going to all go through these crazy things, right? Like, find joy in the process, no matter how painful it can be. And if you change your outlook on that, I feel like your whole life will be changed.
That is life. I love that. And going on that chord too, why would you want to do another one if you were feeling miserable? I've heard you talk about that. Like, it is the hardest thing that you've done, you've said. So what is the thing that pushes you to do that, since you went through all the crap of having to balance everything in life? So you still have the desire to do another one sometime soon?
Dude, it's crazy. So I did my first show, and for the first, 80% of the prep, I told people, I was like, you guys got to do a show. This is amazing to see your body transform, the discipline. But then that last little bit is, lack of a better term, it's hell. It is so hard. And then I started telling people, don't do this. Don't ever do this. This is miserable. It's not worth it. Then you compete and you get the high and the thrill of being on stage and being able to look at what you accomplished, and it becomes addicting. But even then, I never thought I was going to do it again until my wife. She was kind of the one who really pushed the me doing a second show with her. And so, to be honest, I wasn't sure if I wanted to. And she would talk all the time. She's going to do it, but she's like, I need you to do it. And I'm like, okay. But in the back of my mind, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do this. But we did it. And then again, you get off and you get on stage, and the high, and when they put a medal around your neck. And then I remember, like, going and embracing my wife. I ran back looking for, after she got her third medal. I was the proudest husband. I got one medal. It was cool and everything. But, like, I was ecstatic for my wife. And just that feeling of accomplishment, it's hard to beat, man. Like, we've all done really hard things, and when you accomplish what you were going for, when you get through it, it feels so good. And that's kind of where I'm at with it, is I want that feeling, I think, one more time, but also I feel like I have a little more I can bring to the stage, and I just want to bring the absolute best I can. And I do hear it only gets easier the more you do it, which I will say is true. The second prep was a little bit easier than the first prep, and I've heard the third one, even because your body just is kind of, you just get a little more used to it. It knows what it's going through. And so I think because of those reasons, I'm like, yeah, why not run it back one more time? So this year, the full year, I'm taking about 16 months off of full on build mode. So I'm just trying to build and get as big as I can, which has its own challenges. And then I'll probably start prep about 11 and a half months from now, and then do a show next spring. So that's the plan.
We're looking forward to it. It's going to be crazy.
Thanks, man.
You think you look crazy now. I think you do, but I'm excited to see where that takes you.
Thanks, bro.
And switching gears too, you and your wife have gone, pretty deep into, I'd say, I don't know if you consider yourself like an influencer, fitness influencer. I kind of think it's something along the lines. I mean, it's very inspirational. You're going off with the content. I want to get your thoughts on the fitness industry as a whole right now. I feel like it is pretty trendy. What do you see, or what are your thoughts on kind of the wave of, or the hype going on right now with fitness industry, with the gym?
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's very trendy. I feel like right now, I mean, fitness has always been there, right? But now it is like, if you don't work out, it's weird, right? Everyone goes to the gym. And bodybuilding is becoming a huge sport. I feel like I got a little ahead of the curve. Maybe I did my first show a year and a half ago, but I do feel like really these past year, 2 years, like it is just exploded. I mean, with the power of social media, right? You're seeing all these big names out there. I mean, we all know them. Chris Bumstead, Sam Sulik, all these guys. People are constantly watching and trying to be like. I think it's great. I think there is some danger that comes with it for sure. but I think overall promoting health, eating healthy, lifting weights. They've done so many studies on the importance of lifting weights when it comes to like longevity of life that I think it's great. I love it. In moderation though, of course. So
That's what I think so too, 100%. And that's funny you said that. I wanted to ask you, about like Sam Solik, right? Like I look at him and I wonder, kind of leading to the fact that you think that it can become a little unhealthy in comparison. Like I think a lot of, young men or whoever, guys in general. I mean, I bet this happens for women too, but I look at that and then I go try to get a pump and I look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, man, that's a huge gap between, other people that are at the top, right?
yeah, dude, it's a slippery slope for sure. Because you got to understand a few things when it comes to like fitness influencers. A majority are enhanced, and some very much so enhanced. And no shame on that. If people want to go down that route, I'm totally cool with it. I think there's a lot of could be benefit. I think some people need it. Like if you want to make it a career, like no shame. And a lot of people view it as cheating. I don't, because you still got to work your tail off. And so the guys who go down that route, cool, more power to you. But like everyone for the most part is enhanced, and so to compare yourself for especially if you're not enhanced, it's just not fair. But then also understand the editing, the perfect lighting. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I won't post a picture if I'm not in good lighting. Why would I post it? Why if I don't look great? Why would I not? Why would I post the picture? And I try to be a little more vulnerable. I've made posts in the past like, hey, here's me in great lighting, here's me in not so good lighting, literally seconds apart. And so I try to be a little more real, but it's like we're always comparing ourselves when people are looking their best. And that's just not fair. Because the way that I or Sam Sulek or Chris Bumstead, these guys, even the best of the best, the way we see them with a pump, the way we see them tanned up, the way we see them in perfect down lighting, that's not how they always look. And we just, as long as we can remember that, I think that's the powerful part. But when you start comparing, which we all do, that's when it really becomes unhealthy, and I think it can do some damage mentally.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it is our own race, and what should be more exciting to us is we can be better the next day than what we were the day before, get a little bit better. It is hard because you can't see results that quick. I mean, for you, it seems like you got a huge transformation pretty quickly, but obviously, I bet there's days where you're looking in the mirror thinking, like, man, I'm not seeing too much change, right? Like, you're going through a lot of work to get there, to get slow progress.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it's interesting when, as an outsider looking in, I could totally see how someone would be like, yeah, because literally, if you saw me 2 years ago versus right now, you'd be like, wow, right? It's drastic, and I've posted. Go look on social media, you can see it, right? But what people don't see is the sacrifice and the dedication and the discipline. And so exactly like you said, it can be slow and painful. I had a lot of weight to lose, so in the beginning, I actually saw some benefit pretty quick because I had a lot of weight to lose, right? But it is such a slow and painful process, but it's beautiful. I mean, it's so amazing, and the more disciplined you are, the quicker the results do come. And so I tell a lot of my clients like they want these quick results, but unless you're willing to go through the pain that it's going to take for you to see quick results, and even then they're not even that quick. It's much more healthy. It's much smarter to do slow and steady. It's more sustainable, and everything like that. And so we always want these quick fixes, but in the fitness world, there really isn't any. It's for everyone. It's going to take time, no matter what.
Yeah, and being a fitness coach too, what is one of the biggest hurdles that you usually see people go through? Do you feel like people have unrealistic expectations and they're like, hey, I want a six pack in a few weeks. Like, can you get me there? Um,
Absolutely, man. Like I can't tell you, we have so many clients, which is totally okay, who come in with like a date in mind when I want to be jacked. And now, if it was 6 to 12 months out, cool, I can deal with that because we can do a lot of damage in that time, right? But when it's 2, 3 months out, I'm like, oh boy, like I don't think you understand how this works, right? Now, everyone starts at a different place. If someone came into me after, you know, already understanding weightlifting and, has been working out for 2, 3 years, has a lot of muscle and just needs to cut some fat, sure, 12 weeks, we can do some pretty great damage, right? But a lot of people just have such unrealistic expectations and they're not willing to put in the time. I usually tell people, and this is probably the quickest, but it'll take at least 4 weeks for you to notice some changes, at least 8 weeks for close family and friends to notice some changes, and then at least 12 weeks for everyone to notice some changes. Now, and I'm not saying you're getting jacked. I'm just saying some changes, right? It takes much longer to get, a beach body, but it really does. I mean, so even that timeline is kind of quick, which is nice. I mean, 4 weeks to see some within yourself, but a lot of people they want it that week. They want it. Hey, I went to the gym today. Where's my abs? Right? It's like, well, it's not going to happen. So I just say consistency and understanding how long the process can be is a hurdle for sure.
It's okay. I've done it. I got a pool party in a few weeks, so let's get right before that.
Hey, I've done it
No.
too, bro. I've done it too.
No, it means a lot. I think you can tell a lot about a person when they're in shape and when you can look at them and see that they've gone through the discipline to get to where they are. I'm sure you see that. And I think, that's what a trait in someone that would inspire me is you're like, hey, I'm assuming that they've got a lot of their life in line because they are putting off instant gratification. I'm sure you see that in people around you and the people that you deal with on a daily basis is, the people that are killing it, they're probably in good shape. They got those habits already set,
Yeah,
and they're killing it.
yeah. It's crazy how typically I feel like it goes hand in hand. Like being fit and being successful, being fit, like they go hand in hand. Now there are some out of shape successful people, and there are some broke, ripped people for sure. But I feel like for the most part, they go hand in hand. I mean, one of the first things that people notice about a person is their body. It is the first thing, right? That is like your walking resume. And for me, like it just brings such power. Like when you can command a room by just walking into it, and that doesn't mean you got to be the biggest or most jacked person, but it's just the confidence you exude. And I feel like a lot of that comes from, your physique and how you feel and look, um, is gonna be portrayed a lot through just the way you carry yourself. And so like I feel like success and fitness like fit hand in hand for sure.
Yeah. And I think I've heard it on social media too. But if I saw this guy getting out of a sports car and he looks sloppy, out of shape, whatever it might be, I'm not gonna look at that and be like, oh, just because of the lifestyle or the car, I want to be like him. But vice versa, you can see someone get out of a not so nice car, and it's like, hey, I respect that.
Yep.
You don't even have to talk to them. You know that they have discipline. They have these traits to keep their lives in order. It's like you have discipline, enough discipline to get yourself to look like that.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So, well, hey, I appreciate your time, and maybe for the last part of having you on, what are some tangible things? I'm sure everyone wants to better themselves this year. Hopefully, resolutions are still going strong, but what are some of the tangible things that people can do to get their bodies in shape this year and to keep going with their goals? Like, what are the simple things or the things that have really helped you during your transformation?
First and foremost, set a goal. Set a goal, and something that's going to motivate you. It can't just be to get a six pack. I've been at that point when I want to get a six pack by this trip. I've never gotten a six pack by that trip, but when I set a goal that kind of scared me a little bit, like a bodybuilding show, that's when the magic happened. Set a goal, find someone to hold you accountable, whether it's a spouse, a friend, a parent, or a coach. You have to have an accountability partner, and being willing to invest in your health. I get it. It can be expensive and daunting to eat healthy all the time, to hire a coach, to hire mentors, whatever it is. But I promise you, it's worth it. And there's people out there that genuinely want to help. I like myself. Like for me, I tell my wife all the time, like we really just want to help people. Sure, like the financial gain from coaching is cool, but being able to help people is what's important. And so there's people out there who are genuinely like that. And so try and and surround yourself by those people. And so I'd say those three things, and then also just surround yourself with better people. Again, at a conference I was at yesterday, they talked about how if your circle of friends don't inspire you, you're not in a circle, you're in a cage. find people to inspire you. When you're around people who make you want to be better, so change your friends if you have to. That's a tangible thing. Um, Find people that make you want to be better and watch your life change, and you'll reach new heights that you never thought you could simply by changing the people you surround yourself with.
Boom. I love that. Thank you very much. Guys, if you're not following him, if you're not following your page to your Instagram page, how can they find you? I'll put it in the bio. What is the handle?
Yeah. Go give us a follow. Spjute_strong.fit. Go follow us. We'd love to have you. Leave some comments. Shoot us a DM if you have any questions. Again, we're here to help and inspire, and hopefully we can do the same for you.
I love it. Thank you very much, CJ. Honestly, I appreciate you. This has been a pleasure. Thank you for spending time and being willing to hop on.
I love it, dude. Thank you so much, man. Thanks for having me.
You got it, brother. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Stay tuned for the next episodes coming.